Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today we'll discuss about I in solid. If you are new and want to learn what is S, O and L in solid, you can refer to my previous video. Let's get started with interface segregation principle. Before that, please do not forget to subscribe. It will motivate me to create new content for you. Interface segregation principle or ISP is one of the 5 solid principles of object-oriented software design. It was introduced by Robert C. Martin and aimed to guide developers in designing and organizing interfaces to create maintainable, scalable, or loosely coupled systems. First, the principle states. The ISP states that a client should not be forced to implement interfaces it does not use. In simpler terms, the ISP suggests that no class should be obligated to implement methods it does not need or use. It emphasizes breaking large interface into smaller chunks and more focused ones. This way, it prevents unnecessary dependencies and ensure that the client can be classes that implement the interfaces are not burdened with irrelevant functionality. What are the benefits of interface segregation principle? First one is reduced dependencies or reduces dependencies. By having smaller or more specialized interface, classes are not required to implement method they do not need. This reduces the number of unnecessary dependencies between classes. Second benefit is promotes loose coupling. With smaller interfaces, classes are less likely to be tightly coupled with each other, leading to more flexible and maintainable code base. Third benefit is enhanced code readability and understanding. Smaller interfaces clearly state what functionality a class should implement, making it easier to understand and it will describe the code. Fourth benefit is easier to maintain and extend. As classes only implement relevant method, changing in one interface are less likely to impact unrelated class, or it will not impact unrelated class, simplifying maintenance and extension. Next benefit is improves testability. Smaller interface lead to a smaller and more focused test classes, making it easier to test individual component in isolation. So these are the benefits we have when we use interface segregation principle. While implementing interface segregation principle, we have to follow few guidelines. What are those guidelines? First one is identifying cohesive interfaces. What does it mean? We should design interfaces in such a way that group related methods together. Each interface should represent a single cohesive responsibility or behavior. Next, avoid fat interfaces. Do not create interfaces with too many methods, especially if they are not closely related. Split them into smaller or more specialized interfaces. Next, interface extraction. When an existing interface becomes too large or is used for unrelated classes, consider extracting smaller interface that satisfy to the specific need of the implementing classes. Next, client-specific interfaces. Create interfaces that suit need of each client class to ensure they only implement the necessary methods. These are the few guidelines we need to consider while implementing interface segregation principle. Now we'll see an example of a messaging system that handle both email and SMS messages. In this example, we have a single iMessage interface that contains method for both sending emails and SMS messages. Next, the messaging service class implements both methods that can handle both email and SMS. However, email service and SMS service classes are specialized service and only support sending email and SMS respectively. But they still need to implement both the methods since they are using iMessage interface, and it leads to empty or meaningless implementations. To adhere the interface segregation principle, we should segregate the functionality into smaller interfaces so that the classes only implements the methods they need. First, I'll introduce two new interfaces. So I'll create two interfaces. One will be, let's say, I email message. I'll make it public, and then I'll introduce method required to subject and body. So this is our first interface. I'll introduce another interface for SMS. Here I'll create SMS and I'll just copy this method from here. So by segregating the interface, we have created smaller and focused interface for specific functionality. Now we'll apply the specific interface that are relevant to these message service, email service and SMS service classes. So first, instead of iMessage, what I'll do here, I'll inherit it from email message. I'll also use SMS message. But for email service and SMS service, we'll only implement the required interface. For email service, we need email message interface, and I'll just delete these methods since we no longer require this method. And for same SMS service message, I'll apply SMS message, and here I'll delete a send email method. This approach adheres to interface segregation principle and leads to more maintainable and meaningful code. It avoids forcing classes to implement methods that are irrelevant to their specific responsibility and promoting better code organization and avoiding unnecessary dependence. This is all about interface segregation principle. Stay tuned for my upcoming video, which will be dependency inversion principle. If you like my video, please do not forget to subscribe. Thank you.